Christmas is coming, the goose is getting fat. Have you noticed how basically the fat transfers from the goose to the human?
This is
over
quite
Christmas?
true, yes. Filling the waistcoat of Jack and the waistline of Jill. That's a quote from the Elizabethan Express.
How old are you?
About 49.
Oh yeah, I'm 43.
I meant, sorry. 40.
149. We are doing brandy.
And a jolly good one.
This is really lovely. This is my drinking brandy. Now, brandy is, to me, and I'm going to probably get kicked out of Scotland for saying this, brandy is by far the more appealing spirit when it comes to brown spirits. And that includes whiskey.
For whiny people.
Particularly for whiny people.
That's the thing though, a lot of whiny friends I have also are obsessed with whiskey.
Yeah. And they don't touch brandy.
I don't get it. And they don't touch brandy ever.
Don't get me wrong.
You're missing out on so much. Like the difference between Armagnac and Cognac, for example. This is a Cognac, which is more floral and pretty. Whereas Armagnacs are kind of deeper, earthier, more aromatic, caramel, etc. But there's something about a Cognac that's just very Christmassy and sort of festive. You know?
And please don't for one second think that I don't like whiskey. I love whiskey. But the reality of it is that the whiskey industry is pricing themselves out of the competitive market.
Of existence,
You know, you take, for example, something like a top producer, or even not a top producer, a medium sort of scaled producer. You know, their 30-year-olds are thousands and thousands of pounds. Yet this producer's 50-year-old, which is an unbelievable drink, is 200 quid a bottle.
Yeah.
Now this isn't 200 quid a bottle. This is 40
basic.
quid a bottle.
Yeah, this is their basic stuff.
So this is their VSOP, but their VSOP is aged for 10 years. So you're looking at a 10-year old cognac. And
I feel like unlike whiskey, brandy doesn't have a sort of sweet spot where after a certain amount of time in barrel it starts getting woody and barky and dusty.
Yeah.
Brandy, I think, to a greater extent for some reason seems to hold on more.
It does. I mean, the thing that I'm always very careful about when it comes to age of whiskey is the sweet spot. I think each distillery has a sweet spot. Some will be young, some will be really old.
Usually it's kind of like around 12 to 15 though.
But you get someone like
you
get something like for me, Glenfarclas. It gets better and better and better to a point, and then it tails off, but then it improves again.
Yeah.
And I think that's. I once wrote an article comparing Glenfarclas to the career of Elvis Presley, and. I'll put that on the website and put the link beneath it. But anyway, the thing is, your point of brandy just sort of continuously evolves.
Yes.
Regardless of producer, I think it does keep on going.
Quite work. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they also don't faff around with loads of different barrels, which is great, but it's also after a point a little bit overwhelming and just corporate.
The market,
cask, you know.
The marketing of whiskey
it's the marketing that's annoying and makes me not want to drink it.
Yeah.
You know. Whereas brandy is just like, we're from Cognac. This is how everything in France works in terms of boozes. They put the name of the region, and if you don't know it, then sorry, mate. You know.
Which
to some extent
does have a degree of keeping the punter a bit uninformed.
Exactly. But that's our job.
But I think the other thing is that, and where whiskey, I'd say where whiskey and cognac producers do sort of work together is when you have independent bottlers who are doing really interesting sort of different, be it different finishes or be it, single barrel releases or all of these things. There you're getting a really interesting sort of, let's call it production-led rather than marketing-led sort of style of whiskey. On top of that, you have certain producers where, yes, they may do different barrels with certain expressions, but there's a sort of nice linear progression through. It's not like my favorite distillery of days of old, which will remain nameless, who are basically now, they'll come up with an idea of, let's make a crocodile label, and all of a sudden they've got a crocodile edition whiskey.
Which is no different from the others.
And that's a problem for me. I'm a purist when it comes to booze. Booze should be led by the flavour, the taste, and the value, not some guy sitting in an office coming up with hey, this is a great idea how to spin it. Have you ever seen, I think there's a film, Crazy People?
No.
It's got Dudley Moore in it. He's basically a marketing executive who goes bonkers and then gets a lot of people from to come up with slogans for his clients. For example, Volvo, they're boxy but they're good. That's
Okay.
It's probably a completely politically incorrect film now, but so there's your pre-warning if you do go out and look at it. But I think it's called Crazy People,
Yeah.
and that's what whiskey is doing. It's marketing led, and I'm sorry. Lecture over.
I have quite an interesting memory with Montefiore because last Christmas. Oh, shut up! Let me speak. Bloody hell!
I love you.
Oh yes, I love you
Awesome.
too. Do you know what? Last Christmas
Here,
Eve.
get drunk.
Yeah, last Christmas Eve. It was it's the best day in Wineco. And it was just me and San Pietro here. So we opened a port from 1970, which was the first wine producer that I ever drank that got me into wine. Blah blah blah. Extremely emotional, wonderful, gorgeous. And then I had a sip of the 50-year-old Montefiore.
Mhm.
That port was 50 years old. This brandy was 50 years in barrel, whatever. And it tasted like a brandy version of the port. I remember that. It was probably because my palate was trained to
Portified.
ported. But that was a wonderful moment, and that's why I think Montefiore, 50 years old, and it tastes like a young port, which is lean, fresh. And it's like, whoa, brandy is so cool. And especially cognac, because Armagnac would get really earthy.
Yeah.
Cognac, not so much.
No, cognac is definitely the graceful of the two.
Sometimes after a long dinner, you just want that, banoffee pie.
Mhm.
Which, that's 86 Armagnac over there.
Yeah, banoffee pie.
Oh, caramel, yeah.
But this isn't banoffee pie.
No, it's not.
This is the caramelized cashew nuts and
Floral.
almonds and floral lilacs, like you were saying. There's hints of sort of almost white chocolate in there.
Mhm.
A sort of is it white chocolate with vanilla pod through it?
Yes,
Um,
totally.
And that's what's giving it the softness because okay, it's 10 years old, so it's still relatively young. And younger spirits have a bit more. They're like young gentlemen. They're a little bit sort of vibrant and aggressive. Some maybe more so than others. And as a result of which.
And then, once you get to the 20-year-old, that's, starting the career in the city. And
Exactly, and it's a bit more mature.
Yes, a mellow, but still, boozy.
Yeah. But that white chocolatey vanilla-y
Yeah, that's totally true.
sort of
There is,
softens all of those slightly
Oak done
little,
right.
those slightly little aggressive tones that
Yeah.
they calm down.
Yeah. People love to be like, oh, the oak is so well judged. Judicious oak. But this is judicious oak, definitely.
Yeah.
Because it's harmonic,
And there's a warmth there, and there's a bitterness there,
Yeah.
and there's a customer coming in, so we're going to be back in a minute.
So, it's lovely. Elegant. Very nice.
I'm just sitting here enjoying
Yeah.
my brandy.
It's 40 quid for a kind of lower end whatever is great, but this is a really good entry level whatever because it's in barrel for much longer than usual.
Yeah.
But it's still youthful, perfect, young and wonderful.
With a little kick to remind you that it's 40% alcohol.
Yes.
Which you do need.
Yes, but which you can't feel
No.
as much because it's so good.
Yeah, but you notice it because
Mm.
I think the problem with this is that it's incredibly easy drinking, and you can drink far too much of it far too quickly, which we do not condone in any way, shape, or form. Comply with legislation and all that. Yeah. We really do need to sort of make sure that we don't clash on the shirts.
Yeah, I know. I mean, mine technically has a green stripe and yours
Yeah.
has a blue one, but it's the same idea.
Yeah.
Billa Ben the Flower Pot Man.
And then the braces as well. The
Oh,
thickness of the
bloody
brace. The thickness of the brace
It,
is for seniority.
Yes, exactly. So,
Not anything
to
to
it.
do with stomach size. Have a lovely day. Bye.